Thank you very much, Sean. Speaking of Phil Hogan, Phil asked the Irish people 5 years ago to confide in Fine Gael, to lend his party their votes and give them the mandate to lead the government. We know now what 5 years of a Fine Gael-led government looks like. This evening, there are 800 families, including 600 children, will be sleeping in emergency accommodation. Up to 80 families are becoming homeless in Dublin alone each month since last January. 130,000 families are on a social housing waiting list. Close to 350,000 people, up an extraordinary 45% since 2013 alone. Young couples are shut out of the market with sky-high rents, with no prospect of getting a mortgage. Thousands of homeowners, unfortunately, are waiting for the sheriff to knock at their door as banks ramp up a wave of repossessions. And I ask you, Phil Hogan, is this what supposed decent Fianna Fáil people thought they could get when they gave their votes to Fine Gael 5 years ago? I doubt it very much, I'm sure you agree. And I hope, and all our candidates throughout the country hope, to engage with those people and to welcome them back to their natural home, to Fianna Fáil, and to lead Fianna Fáil in the next government. They've blamed the state of the public finances during the recession for their complete and utter failures to take proactive measures on housing. But the decisions this government made had next to nothing to do with the state of the public finances and had everything to do with Labour's incompetence and Fine Gael's hidden ideological agenda. It was this government's choice to build just 300 homes per year, compared to 3,600 by the last Fianna Fáil-led government. It was this government's choice to abolish affordable housing for middle-income earners. It was this government's choice to halve the Part 5 social housing obligation on developers. It was this government's choice to bring in a host of new building costs which has held back the construction of new homes in this country. It was their choice, as previous speakers have said, to let the banks run the show. It was their choice for them to rig mortgage restructuring in their favour rather than that of homeowners. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, Minister Alan Kelly, nicknamed AK-47 by himself of course, believes the purpose of his job, rather than being at Cabinet and having the privilege to be at Cabinet in national government, is to cultivate a media persona as Labour's political operator-in-chief and the bête noire of Fine Gael. It would be funny if it wasn't so serious. He is a minister who is completely adrift in policy terms. His failure to take even simple measures, such as increasing the rent supplement or putting a stay on mortgage repossessions, are forcing people out of their homes and into homelessness on a daily basis. Such headless policy making is resulting in a higher cost to this state and an immeasurably higher cost to the unfortunate families involved. And the housing crisis, unfortunately, too, continues to spread far beyond Dublin. The utter dysfunction in the private rental market is a direct result of the decisions taken by this government, in addition to the incompetence of their key decision makers, who merely fancy themselves, like Leo Varadkar, as public commentators rather than policy or decision makers. Pat Rabbitte recently commented that no one could have predicted the housing crisis in 2012 when ghost estates still littered the country. Quite the contrary, Pat. This housing crisis was predicted far and wide, and anyone could have seen that the writing was on the wall. In the last 2.5 years, as Senator Thomas Byrne has said, 10 local authorities failed to build a single social home. That's not the fault of the local authorities, that's the fault of those who have been entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring that homes are built for those who require them, but they have abdicated that responsibility, and it's something we'll hammer home and continue to hammer home on the doorsteps in the coming weeks. It is no coincidence that the largest rent increases in over 10 years were recorded when this AK was fumbling and fooling with rent controls. His rent certainty is nothing of the sort. His mishandling of the situation has led to more hardship for tenants across the country. The homelessness calamity has been severely exacerbated by his colleague and his leader, Joan Burton, and her decision not to allow marginal increase in rent supplement thresholds for families to afford rising rents. The justification for this decision, for this disastrous decision, that it could lead, in her words and others, to further rent inflation, was and is based on zero evidence. Rent supplement is there to prevent poverty by keeping families in their homes. And Fianna Fáil would, will and has to increase rent supplement as a matter of urgency so families on the margins can stay at home. Our rent certainty measures would reduce rent rises immediately by restricting rents to area-based rental index both within and between tenancies. And while Mr AK-47 continually assures the public that he has a plan for dealing with the housing crisis, his response to the housing crisis has been incredibly incompetent, uncoordinated and lacklustre. A new yardstick in recent times that shows how senseless their approach to this crisis has been is that he and this government are spending $191,000 on a single temporary modular home, but unwilling to spend $30,000 to refurbish a local authority home which can become a permanent home. That's the difference between us and them. We will ramp up refurbishment of the 3,000 vacant social housing units and prioritise their use for homeless families. NAMA has the capacity and the land to deliver up to 20,000 new homes. However, this government again is allowing NAMA to sell off these vital assets to private vulture funds while delivering less than 2,000 social housing units. Fianna Fáil will implement in government a 50-50 split between affordable social housing units to private housing units in the NAMA development plan, which will lead to 10,000 new units for families in need ASAP. In the short and long term, Fianna Fáil will prioritise increasing housing supply. We are the only party committed to building homes and actively helping people to buy them. We will increase the construction of social housing by 45,000 units, and we will stimulate the construction of 150,000 private homes by 2021 with relevant and through new finance initiatives. We will ensure a clear path to home ownership, and we will include the likes of the credit union in that market. We won't exclude them as they have sought to do in recent times, and let you be clear and concise in that point when you're talking to your communities. This government has sought to bring down credit unions. Bring them down they won't, while Fianna Fáil have something to say about it. Our tenant purchase and affordable home schemes will ensure that home ownership is not the preserve of the private market. We will keep people who are making an effort to pay to meet their mortgages in their homes and remove the bank veto on debt restructuring. I said it last year to read our lips that we would do it. They have sought to give the impression that they have done it in the meantime, but they haven't even enacted the legislation in the courts that does that what it's supposed to do. We would say it again, and Thomas Byrne and others have said it before me. We will not allow a bank a veto over people in relation to the proposals that they make to keep their homes and to stay in their homes. Let that go out loud and clear. If you or your children aspire to owning your own home in your own community, then Fianna Fáil is the only party committed to help you to achieve that most basic of hope. And I hear Enda Kenny talk a lot about the people. I'll tell you, Enda, about the people. If the people want a fair housing policy, they need to vote Fianna Fáil. If the people want a fairer society, they need to vote Fianna Fáil. If people want real republicanism, they need to vote Fianna Fáil. And then you needn't worry either about your scaremongering tactic in relation to your recovery, that you take ownership and give no credit to the country or to the section of the country that is benefiting from it. You needn't worry, we won't do away with your recovery. But I tell you what we will do. We'll spread it around. We'll bring it to the regions, even to Mayo, and we'll bring it around the regions where people want to see it. All the people deserve to take part in the recovery. All the regions deserve to take part in the recovery. But those people in those regions need help and assistance. They need targeted initiatives in order to allow them to become what they can be and they were before. And in the year that is in it, in the centenary of 1916, we want to make a commitment to the electorate. We want to make a commitment to the Irish people that we will give you an Ireland for all. And that is something this government cannot say they have given this country in the last 5 years. Go raibh míle maith, Claire.